Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys already know we are bringing daily podcasts to you guys to enjoy, learn from, and pretty much just enjoy the conversations that we're having around death, dying, and grief, and all the things that come in between them, all the messiness, right? We're normalizing it. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in and helping us reach more people to help normalize the conversation so it's more comfortable than uncomfortable. Finding ways of healing, but connecting with those who are helping you guys heal as well. Good morning, Lincoln. Really good to see you this morning, and I'm gonna call you later on, man. Now, without further ado, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, I would have to say, if you're just going to come in and subscribe and unsubscribe, don't do that, please. You guys are messing up the algorithm, and it makes it more difficult to reach more people. If you're going to be a troll, this may not be the podcast for you because I just block you. All right. And now, other than that, you guys, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section and we'll be sure to answer them as we go along. Now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my next guest. She's amazing. Miss Mor, how we doing?
I'm doing so good, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on today. I love that smile. I told you when we talked last time, that smile is freaking amazing. Thank you for brightening up my day and everybody else who's going to be tuning in today. And so now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Okay, well, my name is Mor Yelvington. I currently live in Portland, Oregon, and I'm married, have 3 kids, and I've been an energy healer for over 18 years now, helping women and men heal anxiety, depression, trauma, and so on in the body.
Nice. Now, before we get into the work that you do, take us on your journey of life. Take us how was Mor before all of this stuff came along? Before you got into this work of healing.
So yeah, it's a long story, but I'll make it short. When I was little, I experienced a lot of different kinds of trauma. I lost my dad when I was 9, and I just grew up as an adolescent really angry and depressed, and I went to therapists and I took medications and nothing seemed to really help until I started diving into energy. I was introduced to energy work pretty early on because my mom was pretty out there. And what I realized therapists that I could just control them, but with energy there was no way to manipulate, right? And so the more I dove into the energy work and really realized who I was and what I was and where I was holding the trauma and what a big part my body was playing with all of that, I started working with people and developing my skills and learning modalities and tools and just donating my time and working with people, and I just grew and grew and grew. And today, I have a big company. I work with clients all over the world. I have a podcast. I'm working on a book. I'm everywhere. And I'm really on a mission to really clear trauma from the body because that was one of the biggest challenges I had when it comes to healing.
Mm-hmm. Now, most people that get into energy work, it's kind of strange for them starting off, right? Because it's like, what is this right here, right? And I'm a huge advocate of people's energies, right? It helps to be honest with you, help keeps me safe. Like if I'm around a person, I can pick up on it. And the crazy part about it is I never thought I would be an empath, but I am. I pick up on it. Yeah, I'm like, maybe I don't need to be around that person, right? But, when I was younger, yeah, it was strange because people would drain me, but I never understood why, right? Not until I got older. And now I understand why. They wasn't here for me. They was here for what I was carrying, but I didn't know how to set those boundaries and go, but was it strange for you when you first started tiptoeing in it? Or was it just boom?
So let me tell you, the biggest thing that I learned. So when I experienced, like I told you, I lost my dad, and that was a very huge impact on my life. He was, I loved him, I adored him, we were super close. What I didn't realize that happens is when you experience trauma, you disconnect from your body. It's called disassociation. If you learn into psychology or learn about it, but your body disconnects. It's like your soul kind of jumps out of your body is the best way for me to explain it. And when you learn that early on, you just kind of do that in and out of life. So anytime stuff became hard, it was like I was just checked out. And I didn't realize I was doing it until I was in a class. I took a theta healing class. It's a modality, one of the modalities I learned, and I was practicing with the woman that was with me, and we had to practice muscle memory.
Oh wow. Okay.
Test.
So you know,
I
I'm all for muscle memory.
Here I am. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm all for muscle memory, and you know, because I love working out and things like that.
So what happened? Oh, I was going to do it. So she was.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to show you. So we were working. It's called muscle test.
Okay.
I know my internet's kind of, for some reason, the reception. Ask the reception to this. Okay, so we were practicing this method. It's called muscle testing, right? Mm-hmm. And so you stand up and you say, "My name is Mor." If the answer is yes, your body will just move forward a little bit. For me, if I say my name is Tony, my body will move backwards a little bit. So your body has the answers. The body holds the answers. So she was asking me questions. My body was moving forward and backwards. You can try this. I mean, you can read about it. It's called muscle testing. There's a lot of different ways to do it. This is just one of the ways we were playing with it. And so then she started asking me questions that were a little bit more intense, and my body would just freeze, right? Would just freeze. It wouldn't move. And so she said to me, "Where do you go?" Every time I come to a point where it's triggering, you just freeze. It's like you leave the body. And I was like, wow, that's so true. And I realized I was doing that almost my whole life after experiencing trauma. I just, kind of escaped my body in that moment, if that makes sense. And so I realized a lot of the work I had to do was to really make my body feel safe again, so I can feel again, so I can come back into my power.
I like that. I definitely like that. Maybe I've experienced it in different ways, and I totally agree. I think it's the frequency that is being presented when you say something negative or say something wrong. The body understands it, right? Because the body keeps track, right? And I can't say that I've actually experienced that aspect of it, but something similar, right? Because I relate it to the flight or fight, right? Whereas, I'm saying, if the body is going through, is experiencing some sort of trauma, most people will have that notion of running away from it, right? And I realized at a very early age that I never had the flight aspect of it. I always had the fight aspect of it. And so I never had any fear, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I was scared of my mom, and I had a little bit of fear from my sister because she was like a little Wolverine and she beat me up. I mean, she's my younger sister, so of course I let her feel good about herself. But when it came down to certain things, I just had no fear. And as I got older, it became more prominent. Right. I was the first guy to go run into something and be like, "Hey, you want to fight? Let's do it." And so it definitely put me in a lot of situations. So, but now where I understand doing the work that I do now, I understand the way that when we sleep, our souls go out and explore the world. At least that's my theory. Yeah. It goes out and explores the world, right? And that's where some people, when we're walking around, we get the feeling of deja vu. I think, right? It's like, oh, I know this person, but don't know where I know them from. So thinking about the healing work and the vibrational frequencies that we carry within our body, but then the release of, finding areas of healing through the trauma, the addiction, the grief, and everything else kind of lines us up on the path that we're on. But I don't know. It's just a hypothesis right now, right? Just a theory.
Well, what I realized is for me was, I can describe it this way, right? Like someone can say something to you, and it will feel like they punched you in the gut, right? And you can walk around with this feeling for days. Even though they didn't actually punch you in the gut, it still feels like that in your body. You'll still have this like nauseous feeling every time you think about it. That's how energy is. We go through life, we experience all these punches and we take them on and it builds up. And unless we can actually clear them and release them, we're carrying it with us. And not just our stuff. How many times do you see somebody in pain? You kind of take their pain from them onto you, unless you learn how not to do that. So we walk around and we're receptors because we're all energetical beings, we're all connected. And so we're taking on. And the thing is that when we have trauma and there's a part of us that's disconnected and it's not really there, that's why you were probably fearless, right? Avoiding feeling the trauma. I'll do anything because I'm so strong, because I have been through so much. Nothing can stop me. I know that feeling. I've been there too.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we avoid what is actually going on inside because we feel and we think that what's going on inside and facing it is so much more intense than, you know, jumping off a cliff or sky jumping, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to be as painful as actually dealing with the pain versus you're already living the pain. Your body is already dealing with it. You're just ignoring it.
Mm.
You're just avoiding it.
Okay.
So what if you didn't
Okay.
have to do that anymore? Right? Like, what if you didn't have to do it anymore? What if you didn't have to avoid?
See, that's, I guess my question to that would be, you know, is there a process of surrendering to it, right? You know, in order to open up the doors to have the understanding, um, for the acknowledgement as well as the acceptance of the heal of the energy that's being present in the cells at that moment. Is that am I understanding that correctly? Did you freeze up on me? Uh-oh, she froze up on me. More, if you can hear me. Oh, are you
Your
coming back?
internet keeps going in and out for some reason. I'm sorry. Can you repeat your?
That's okay.
I can.
Did you hear my question?
I don't know what
Did
it's
you hear my
doing.
question?
I'm
Did
here.
you hear my question that I asked?
No. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Okay. So what I was asking is that, you know, is there a process of surrendering to where that energy, you know, where you can allow it to flow freely, or um, is there a different process? Because what it sounds like to me is that there's a lot of surrendering, to the energy.
So it keeps cutting in and out. But what I think you're asking is, how do you find the trauma in the body after we experience it? Is that kind of like
Well,
the flow of
is there a
energy? Is that
process
where?
of
So I think is what you're asking. Is that,
well, is there a
am I answering your
process of
question?
surrendering to the energy to allow the healing to take place?
Yeah. So how I see it is the trauma is held in the body. And when you work with me, I put you in this kind of meditative state and I walk you through the process of
Mhm.
finding where the trauma is held in the body. It's held in the cell memory of the body. And then we
Right.
release it from the body. But it's not until you're actually allowing yourself to go to that place and release it and be aware of it is when the healing actually occurs. But 90% of it really is not even in the pain. It's bypassing your subconscious brain and your ego,
Mm.
right? It's bypassing that mind. It's really blocking you from getting to those points. And so a lot of the work is in the mind. And then we go into the body and we clear that trauma and we make the body feel safe again. So your soul can come back. And then when you tie that in with the source energy of God and creator, it creates what I call the diamond effect, because it's the mind,
Mm.
body, soul, and source, right? And that creates a
Okay.
total rapid transformation feeling.
Okay. So, you know, I definitely, when you break it down like that, I can definitely understand exactly what that. I can envision that, and so now my question would be, when it comes down to the brain and trauma, because we both know that, and I think a lot of people understands this. Trauma rewires the way that our brain functions and thinks when it deals with trauma. So there's a lot of unwiring, right, of that synapses, and breaking those and reconnected in a way to where the brain can actually force you, or put you in situations to where you are aware of what's actually going on with you, right? At least that's,
Yeah.
at least that's understanding of it. And then again,
And the thing is so much trauma.
no, okay, uh,
I was gonna say so much trauma happens in early ages,
mhm,
right?
right,
Happens in
right,
early ages. And so when you're a kid, a lot of stuff gets locked in from a kid's perspective. And so much of healing, especially when it comes to the mind, is healing a lot of these beliefs that you got as a child from a child point of view. And so if you ever heard of like inner child healing, there's a lot of inner child healing stuff that
right.
we do because so much of it is locked in from a child. And you keep coming in like, who doesn't want us to have this conversation?
I know. Look, they gonna keep trying, but we still gonna have it though. They can't stop it. They can't stop it. They know how important it is. They know how important it is. They can try all they want. It's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna work. But you know, the beautiful and the crazy part about it is, and again, I'm only speaking from a man's perspective when it comes down to it. So when we talk about the feminine and the masculine energy that comes along with that, I think in the masculine way of going, what I'm saying, these things can be actual blockers, right? You know what I'm saying? The fact of, the way that men are taught to deal with pain, to deal with trauma, to deal with life in general, right? The lack of emotional intelligence as well as the lack of emotional awareness. We're told to man up. So again, I'm thinking about, what I'm saying, how it rewires our brain, as we begin to go. And you're absolutely right. Most of our trauma is from childhood. Most of the conversations that we remember become our survival guides of how to function as a male in society, right? To neglect those things that we are uh, uh, inevitably born with, which is our full emotions intact. So it takes time for us to disconnect from those different things, right? Um, and live within society quo of being a provider and protector. So now my question with that statement would be, is it more difficult for men to connect with the energy than it is with women? Because women operate more, and I could be wrong. I'm not trying to categorize or group anybody together, but from my understanding, women are more emotional connected to those things. So is it
So you know what's
easier?
really interesting? It's like I have male clients. So to me, it's the way I see it is the minute a man decides they're committed to the healing and they show up, it's like that choice to heal, that choice to look at it, that choice to release and let it go. It's like they're so present and they're there. And the work is so dynamic because men are so because they're not as emotional actually. With
Mm,
women, we are a lot more in our brain. We're a lot more in our brain, where with a man, it seems like the minute he decides I'm going for this, he goes for it. And so it's amazing to see when I work with both, it's amazing to see the different approaches of the masculine and the feminine, right? Where a man is like,
mm,
just get it done, right? Like I'm going in, I'm releasing it, I'm letting go. Like we do the thing and they're like, I'm good, right? Or with a woman, I have to work a little bit more, you know, bypassing, well, what if it was like this? What if it was like that?
right,
There's a
right.
lot
Okay.
more of that feminine energy versus with it's almost like the minute a man is like, I'm getting it done, they're in it. I don't, that's the way I can explain it the best. But
Okay.
it's
Okay.
really to get you to get there, right? Because how many men actually say, I need healing work. Okay, this is something that is really troubling me and I need support and help. It's that place. Like, how do we get men, right, to come into that space of like, I need that support. I need that help. I've been dealing with so much. I'm carrying all this load. I need the emotional support. That's the hardest choice. But the minute you choose it, it's like bam.
Okay. I want to say good afternoon to my man, Unwrap the podcast channel out of Chicago. Thank you guys for tuning in this afternoon, man. And yeah, man, guys, go check him out as well, man. He has an amazing channel over there. He does several shows, so you guys will never be disappointed. Go check him out. Thank you for tuning in, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. And so I'm glad that you said that because it gets me to thinking about why that how that energy is beneficial to dealing with grief just trapped into the body, right? Because when we talk about the energy and things like that, grief is oftentimes trapped in the lungs of the body, right? And trauma is often trapped into different very other areas like certain muscles or the heart, things like that. And people sometimes get sick and not understand why they're getting sick. So how important it is to understand the frequencies of those energies, right? And this is where my mind starts to go, where it gets a little bit more wrapped up into the frequency of it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because energy is all frequency, and every frequency carries a different set of notes.
So
Body.
so the way I see it, energy is everything, right? Energy is
Mhm.
everything. Everything is created from energy. So we can manipulate anything and everything. And so
Right.
when I have people that come to me with body pain, I I don't want I want to say like 99.99% it's caused from an emotional trauma that they experience. And
Mm.
when we release that trauma, the pain is gone, right? I have women that feel migraines that they had for years are gone. Back pain. Um, there's just so much. I had to lift her arm like this. Years. We had one session. She cleared grief she had with her sister, and
Mm.
she calls me 3 days later. She's like, "I'm doing jumping jacks. I don't know what you did, but." And I said to her, "I didn't do anything. I was just here to release that trauma from your body. It's just locked in your body and it's holding you down." I believe a lot of cancers, not just mental health, but a lot of the physical pain that's manifesting in bodies is from trauma. And so if your body has resorted to showing you pain, it's because it's the last way of your body to get your attention. The way I see
Mm.
it is your body gives you little messages and nuances like, hey, there's something here you need to look at, right? Oh, you have a little heartburn? Maybe you should look into that. Why do you keep having heartburn? What keeps coming up for you, right? Ask questions. Our body knows how to take care of itself if it doesn't carry the trauma. When we carry that big load, that heavy load of emotions that are just stuck, that's when pain starts showing up because you're not clearing it, right? And so it's really about cleaning those. It's almost like when you have to clean your pipes, you just have to clean your pipes so you can be clear again.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Um, especially as I love the fact that I'm going back a little bit. I love the fact that you talked about the subconscious mind because that has been now has been a huge study of mine, understanding the limitations or the blockages that the subconscious mind can have on the body, right? Limiting ourselves to the necessary healing or understanding how our bodies will talk to us to guide us to do what we need to do, right? And again, when I speak about this, I'm coming from a place of grief because our body innately knows how to grieve.
Yeah.
I think the problem is human nature. It's our nature to either fight or surrender, right? To it. And a lot of times, not understanding something causes us to go into a survival mode, which hinders us from being able to actually access um, the pieces of the unconscious mind that is necessary along the way, if that makes sense.
Yes. And so share an example, I think, to show this really good, right? So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I lost my dad when I was 9. As a 9-year-old, my thought was, he didn't love me. If he loved me, he would stay with me. If he
Mm-hmm.
really loved me, he would stay with me. I couldn't understand that, it was just his time to go. It was a car accident. He was just gone the next day. Now, not just that, he was supposed to drive me to school that day, but I ended up taking the bus. So then I had this blame of, you know, if he would just take me to school, he would have not died. So then I made this idea in my head, this belief that it was my fault that he died. And so then when I grow up and I start dating, my belief about men is that they don't love me and they're going to leave. So then every relationship that I attract ends up leaving. It wasn't until I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I believe that, and that was the belief I was living about myself because of the trauma, that I was able to heal that, and attract the amazing man I'm married to right now, right? Which even coincidentally, his birthday is on the day my dad died, which I think is such a symbolizing to the
Wow.
journey.
Right. Right.
But that's how our mind works when we experience trauma. We just make
Okay. That, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I do watch a lot of people, and I see what they be doing, and sometimes I don't want to laugh, but I laugh anyway because I'm like, you really are putting this out here yourself, right? Because we are the creators of our own story, and I just recently started encouraging people to write if you just encouraging people to write to write the story in the way of a romance novel, right? Fall in love with it, right? Make sure that you include the ups and downs, but make sure that you are the author of the ending, right? Make sure that when people read your life story, that they fall in love with you. They see how you fell in love, right? And all the amazing things that come in between there. Saying make it an award winning novel. That's what I say. Just make it award winning. And but have fun doing it. Things like that. But of course, my mind goes in different directions when I think about that because of some of the things that I see. And I just try to make sense out of it in a rational way. Um, Without allowing my emotions or the um, the reactionary response to come through. Right? More of a responsive, not reactive. One is emotional, one is more logic. And so, understanding the difference between there. Now, when it comes down to energy, I want to get your thought about this. I was thinking about this since the last time that we talked, and I was like, man, I wonder, you know, the connection between the energy and you, having the emotional awareness is, along with the emotional intelligence. And what do you think are the differences between, and the connection between them
between energy and emotional intelligence
and emotional awareness, right? Because
and emotion.
well,
Okay.
yeah. So you got three different things, but energy plays a part in both of those different things, right? You know what I'm saying? And depending on where you're strongest at, I think the energy would take more favor in that direction.
So this is the thing, right? You're when the when your emotions are really high, your
Hmm.
emotional intelligence is very low,
Hmm.
right? Because when you're really mad or angry or sad, you can't really think straight. So it's really about how do you manage those really high emotions. But the thing is so many times those high emotions are just like you said, our fight and flight, our trauma responses, our
Hmm.
overwhelm, our anxiety. It's not really us. It's what we experience. And we just don't know how to deal with it. And a lot of times, when are emotions really high? When you feel out of control.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your emotions are really high. And then your emotional intelligence just goes kind of out the door, right? And then you lose it. That's the moments when you're like, well, why did I say that? Why did I do that? I wish I could go back and change that. Like, why did I do that, right? And so it's really being aware of what it is that's causing these high emotions. If you can have the awareness, then you can change the emotional intelligence and how you react, even when you're triggered. And that's where I see energy coming into place. You know, I created this program. It's called Pocket Therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's activations that you can listen to. They're 5 to 10 minutes activations to deal with these high emotions. So if you're feeling like you're getting really angry, you can, just tap into the activation of anger. I lead you through the process to release the anger out of your body. And then you can come back 5 minutes later, calm, collective, in your energy, in your power, and then address the situation, right? And so it
Mm-hmm.
really helps you to realize, okay, energies are really high right now. I need to remove myself before I do something that I regret, and getting awareness of, why am I even this angry? Why am I even, what is triggering me so much? What is the trigger here?
Okay. I can understand that, but now it goes back to something. Um, when I deal with men, you know, like since we don't, majority of us do not know how to articulate the emotions that we have, although we feel them very deeply. So we express them in different ways. And it's understanding the language and the energy that's being present about it can be misunderstood in a lot of ways. So, and the reason why, and I bring that up to say this, right? Because most men, anger is the way that we cry, right? Because of the way that we're taught. And it's the energy that comes along with that. Now, if a person is truly angry, you pick up on that, right? And you know exactly what's going on. Now, since this is, most people are visual, visual individuals, what you see may not be necessarily what is given back. So, you know what I'm saying? I try to stay in tune with the energy that's being present in those moments, right? And not try to overthink it, but to be in the moment with it so I can have a better understanding of where they're at. And the reason being, energy travels. It's forever present, but
Mm-hmm.
it carries information from from past trauma, past grief, right? Addiction and things like that. And for me, and again, just for me, I've learned to sit with individuals and go, I now know why you're doing this, right? And and instead
Mm-hmm.
of dressing the immediate presentation, I take myself deeper into the energy of that emotion that's attached to it and bring it out and go, let's work on this right here, because then you're understanding that working on those different aspects will actually be able to eliminate the addiction, will be able to heal the mental health struggles, or heal the grief or the trauma that's associated with it. But again, I'm only speaking from a place of um, my own experience, things like that. I stay in my own lane. I try not to venture off too much, so because but no, that's a thought. That's a thought and an exercise that I began to use to help me help other men that are going through something similar. Want to get
Yeah.
similar.
And so when you're saying that, what I see you do is, instead of them having to, it's like you're showing them what is the root cause of the problem,
Right,
right?
right, right.
You're showing them, you're acting like this because of this. So let's address this and not that. Like, I understand you're throwing a chair right now because you're mad, but your anger isn't really at me. It's because of you experienced abuse from your dad in a young age, right? Like something like
Right,
that,
right. Yes,
which
yes.
which makes a lot of sense. You're kind of you're showing them, right? which you're doing it just like with children, right? Like I always tell my kid, like if my kid comes home from school and she's all, angry, and then she starts picking on her siblings, I tell her, like, what is bothering you right now inside that's making you want to hurt somebody else? Because I know you, and you're not a person that's mean or mischievous. You're not a person that hurts people just for fun. You're hurting inside, and now you're taking it on somebody else. So let's see what's hurting you inside.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? Really taking it back to them. Exactly that.
See, and that makes perfect sense, right? And thank you for putting that out there, because it definitely makes sense. Because I see kids now, I do have a hard time reading kids sometimes, because I like to play with them, and they bully me, right? So half the time we're just picking with each other, and just hear the parents have the time. Tony, leave the kids alone, and this, that, and another. And I can't do it, because they're fun, right? And plus, I set myself up for failure for when they get older and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, when you get older, Tony, we're gonna push you out into the middle of traffic. I know, I pick fights with them the whole entire life. That's what I do, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But now, back getting back on track, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. So now I want to get into a part of your life and everything, that I found very fascinating because of your podcast, right?
Okay.
So for you guys, she didn't mention this, and I'm saying, I really wish that, I'm glad that she didn't until now. She has a podcast, right? For you ladies and you men out there, you guys might want to go check her out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna put it in her hands and let her tell you what a podcast is about. Go ahead, tell them. Go ahead and let them know.
So my podcast is called Mom's Talk Sex. It's
Say it
called
again,
Mom's
say it
Talk
again.
Sex, and
Mom
it
talk
came
sex.
actually Mom's Talk Sex. Yep, that's right. It's called Mom's Talk Sex because when I started doing this healing work, and like I told you, I work mainly with women, a lot with women. Women deal with a lot of sexual trauma, and that really affects the bedroom. And not just women, men. Actually, through this work, I had a lot of men reach out to me and worked with them too on their sexual trauma, because it's something we don't really talk about. And the truth is that to me, sexual trauma, even though is what we know, right, is rape or abuse, or it can also be just you disconnecting from who you are. That's what it is to me, really, right? When you disconnect from your sexual organs, when you don't feel like you're connected to who you are, and then you don't operate from that energy, that changes everything. And so when I became a mom, I realized so many moms, the minute they give birth, they kind of like stop having sex, and they don't really talk about it. And there was a lot of trauma related to that, and I was on the other side of that, and I was like, why is that? So many women shut that part of them down. And so I started doing the podcast on that and talking about these topics and what happens in the bedroom, what shows up. As a married couple, there's a lot of stuff that happens when you're married after you have children that changes the sex life, and people just don't talk about it. So that's what we talk about in the podcast, on how to keep it good and sexy, and how to take care of yourself, and how to heal the trauma, and really get back to who you are so you can be in that powerful body of yours.
I love that. Now, I want to take this in a direction where we can associate um, intimate relations with grief, right? Because a lot of times, what happens um, when we're dealing with grief, we oftentimes associate the release or the feeling of connection with sexual intimacy, right? Because that seems that, I know when I was coming up, if we lost somebody, oh yeah, and then it would lead to other things and stuff like that. But it never really solved the problem. It just meant that there was just another connection there. Why is it such an association with that? Is it a connection that you're
Again, I
that
think
you're
it's because we use other people.
hmm
I think
yeah,
it's because we use our partners to avoid the pain, right? It's like
okay.
if I'm in pain, I'm going to find ways to fill that void. Now, a lot of times when there's sexual trauma involved, it's your power has been taken away, right?
Mm,
In a way. And so now it's like, I'm going to fill that void. I'm going to fill that power. And so if it's something that you're trying to avoid feeling, you're going to fill it with people or food or drugs or alcohol, whatever you choose to fill that void, instead of actually healing that void and then finding a relationship from a place that's high. That's why a lot of times when you talk about vibration and energy, when you experience trauma, your vibration is really low. And so you
yeah.
attract people that match that vibration, very low people. That's why a lot of times, if you then do alcohol or drugs, you also attract low entities and energies to come into your space, into your vibration, into your
Right.
body. And so what happens is it's really easy to get lower and lower and lower because you're in that environment. You can't even see that up here, you know, there's a whole different level. But then the minute you start the healing, your vibration rises, right? And then you start finding a woman that's actually you're actually into and you're actually attracted and you care about, right? That's you're raising your vibration and you start matching. And so your environment will start matching the vibration that you raise.
Mm. I love that you said that because you and I talked last time, and and like I said, I may just have a different path than most people, right? And I won't argue with anybody, or anything like that. I think I just have a more in-depth understanding of my journey, and so I know that I have to operate within boundaries when it comes down to certain things to keep people from trauma bonding, right? In those different ways. So, and I understand that most people, the way that they express the way that they care is through their body and things like that. And I get it, right? At least I get it to the for as much as I can, right? But being able to step outside of that and see the situation for what it is allows me to not only um, become more aware of the situation, but have a lot more respect for not only myself but the individual that I'm speaking with that may see that as an opportunity but I may see it as a place of vulnerability and mixed emotions,
Yeah.
you know so it again, I operate within
Well,
boundaries.
well, if we talk about sex, I can definitely tell you that people that are empaths and they're connected, they can be sexual healers. You know, a lot of times they feel like they can heal people with having sex with them and connect to them in that way. And so it's really, like you said, it's really learning what your body really wants, what your body desires, and following with that. And that again comes from knowing and listening to your body. Your body is full of trauma. You're not listening to your body. You're listening to trauma. You're listening
Right.
to the limiting beliefs. And so that's who is picking your significant other. That's who is controlling you and making you choose certain people, certain situations, right? And so you have to come back to your power and say, do I, tell me, really want to choose this person to be with? Do I really want to choose to go to bed with this person? Does my body really want to do that? Is it coming from that space or from a different space?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was saying because it's understanding the boundaries, seeing those connective, seeing those connective ways and going, maybe I don't want to participate in that, right? And a lot of it is aware of the damage that can be done, potentially be done to another individual that may not understand, that may not understand the depth of the situation because of a want or a need or the feeling of feeling wanted or and it, and there are some people out there that believe that saying that they're sexual healers and things like that. I you know I don't know how to say that, and I don't ever want to be disrespectful towards anyone or their choices that they make. You know what I'm saying? Um, but promiscuity, can be misconstrued as that as well, right? So I guess in a lot of ways, I just look at it and go, I just make better choices with myself because I realize that intimacy is a more of a spiritual connection than it is a physical enjoyment, right? And so I do understand and can differentiate between the two and things like that, and that's why I said I operate within boundaries when it comes down.
And that's because you've done all this work, right?
Say again.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, and that's when it comes to boundaries. I said that's
Right.
when it comes to boundaries, and you did all this work, so you can be in that space where you're like, yeah, I can see that this is not going to benefit me. Yeah, I'm not going to hurt somebody else because I'm hurt. Yes, I care about other people and I care about myself and my integrity, so I'm not going to do this. That is a very emotional, intelligent conversation, right? Where some guys or even some women will just be like, oh, I want to feel wanted right now, so I'm just going to do this because it's good for me right now, without thinking, is it also going to be good for me later on? How is it going
Right.
to affect me after this night? How is it going to affect them after this night? Really worth it. But again, that
Right.
conversation comes when you have awareness. You have to have that awareness. What I want to say is when you are already healed, right? I just not healed because I don't think we're ever healed, but it's more of like we just climb the ladder and into awareness is how I see it. We just get more and more
Right.
aware the more we're ready to do the work and learn and expand and grow. And so the more you grow, then you find yourself that you're not even in that around people that want those kind of things because your vibration is higher. Now you just attract people that know and they have empowered choice, right? To
Hmm.
follow you and and to be with you because they know that that's going to fill their soul in a different way. You don't even have to be in that realm of like, should I do this or should I not do this? You'll just know.
Right. Okay. Okay. That makes sense because as you
If
were
that makes
saying
sense.
it, it reminded me of the chakra chart, right? You know what I'm saying? And everything that's associated with that because you cannot neglect those different parts of the energy that's inside of your body and how it connects to the outside world, right? You know what I'm saying? The people, places, and things, especially nature in general, right? I think that is, you know,
Yes.
well, not think, I want to say, when I see those things, it makes sense to me, right? To walk around barefoot in the woods, right? To put your feet in the soil, to feel the energy from the trees and the grass that's around, because everything is connected, right? And so when you could take that and kind of look at it from a human connection point of view, it really makes sense, right? Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
wow, that really makes sense. Hmm. Hopefully, people are learning something about this right now because
Yeah.
I
I
know I.
believe there were all one.
Yeah, yeah, I did. This is to me. I find it fascinating. I really do find it fascinating, and how deep that can really go. And again, I want to say, for the work that you do, thank you because it's the more and more I talk, I realize how deeply important it is for people to understand that as well, right? And to have somebody like you is just phenomenal, just strictly phenomenal, right? Now,
Thank you.
yeah, of course, of course.
It means the
And
world for
now,
me because I just felt like I had no hope, right? I was going
uh,
to therapists. Like I told you, I was going to therapist, and I felt like there was something wrong with me. Nobody could fix me. I couldn't be fixed. I felt so broken. And the truth was that because I was disconnected from my body, I could talk about my trauma, no problem. I didn't feel a thing. I didn't actually deal with it. And that's why normal therapy didn't work for me, because I was just disconnected from it completely. It was just a part of me was out of my body. And so I could talk about it as much as you want and joke about it. I had no feeling. I was so disconnected. And when I started doing this and realized there's no hiding, right? There's no hiding from energy. Energy is there. There's no hiding from trauma. It's there. And I have to act. If I want me and I choose me and I want to live a happy, joyful life where I feel good just by, like you said, stepping outside in my grass or being next to a tree, which I do. Those are the best moments, right? Then
Yeah.
I have to choose me and I have to do that work on me, and I have to clear that from me, because I don't want to carry that, not just for me, but I don't want to give it to my children. I feel like so much of the trauma that people deal with is generational trauma that comes to them from their parents and their parents. And I see us as the abuse cycle stoppers. If you're not doing it for you, do it for your kids, do it for the next generation. You know, a lot of people are like, I'm so messed up. I'm not having kids. I'm stopping my lineage right here so this abuse doesn't keep going. I say, no, you're here because God put you on this earth. God chose you to be here to heal this stuff so you can show others the way. You're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. So you're here to stop that cycle.
See, I believe that, and I want to add something to it because I think this life played a cruel joke on me. You know, it was like, and what I mean, because like, and we've talked a little bit about this. You know, when my son, when I had my son, I lost my dad and my younger brother. So my younger brother was supposed to take on, where I left off at, right? And then, my son was supposed to pick up where my younger brother left off at. This is the way that the circle of life is. The three males, carry on the bloodline, etc. But when I end up losing all three of them, and I thought, and I saw myself as the oldest and the last one in my bloodline. Now, I had made a choice when my son was born to get a vasectomy. So I was like, whoa, I didn't see this part coming. So now I can't have any more kids. I'm like, well, how did I just get put in a situation like this, right? And so, and I don't feel, I feel freely talking about it now, but yeah, it's like it just cut off my whole bloodline and left me to fend for myself out here. So, it's like, relating to what you just said, like God put us here for a reason, to carry on these different things. But then when the situation is reversed, it kind of carries a different set of a belief system that comes along with that. I mean, it still runs side by side, but it's like, wow, I couldn't have planned this even, any more perfect than what just happened. Like, I get to watch my bloodline dissipate with me.
But it's interesting because maybe it's a bloodline, but your legacy has affected and will affect a lot more than a bloodline. And by that happening, you had to choose a legacy. And the legacy is change in the world from what you experienced. And that's what shows up with your work. And that's what's going to stay way beyond your lineage, right? It's your legacy and what you've built and how you touch so many people and how you change them. And then they go and change others. You're a beacon of light for all these people in this dark times. And that's what's going to stay here way beyond us. And that's so much more powerful. And so the choices you make and the things that happen, they happen for this exact reason, for you to step into that power and for you to channel it out to others and do this work. Maybe without it, you wouldn't be here doing this right now.
It's very true. And I love the way that you just did that, because this is your episode. This is all about you. Don't be trying to switch it around. No, I definitely appreciate that, right? Because the work that we do as individuals, especially in the work of healing and service to other people, is such a thankless thing, right? People don't take the time out to understand the work that goes into it, the sacrifices that we make for them. and things like that. And you're absolutely right. It's not about the bloodline. It's about the legacy. It's about leaving people better than what we found them. And I want to say,
Yeah.
like through the conversation today, I really believe that we left a lot of people better than what we found them through understanding and compassion and connection. And and they found another person that they can connect with as well. And I find that to be a very, very beautiful thing through these conversations, because they should be a more normalized conversation. Now, before we wrap it all up, I want to ask, where can people find you?
So they can find me on Morph Healing. Morph is about transformation, transforming into you beyond the trauma, beyond the pain, beyond the suffering. It's really finding who you are, making your body feel safe again, and stepping into your power. So you can find me on all social media under Morph Healing or Mor Yelvington on Facebook. And I have my podcast, Moms Talk Sex, and you can go check it out.
We can't even hold on. You got to tell us where we can find the podcast now. Is it on YouTube, Spotify, on all the streaming channels? You gonna stop neglecting me, okay? I'm over your stuff already, more. Okay, you gotta give us drop it. Drop the 411, okay?
It's on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, everywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, she just goes like, "Oh, you can find it. This is the name." No, you got to give us the info. No, everybody, I do have the info in the description below in the YouTube channel. So go there, check her out. But now before I let you go, more, I got one last question for you, and I love this question. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
It would be to just bring balance, the masculine and feminine balance to our planet, so people don't have to fight anymore, and we're all in our power, feeling safe in our body, seen in our body, and being our fullest potential without any fear.
I love that. I love that. And with everyone else that has been tuning in, I see you guys over there on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I see you guys sitting back in the cut. I see you guys over there. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this conversation. More, I want to say thank you for tuning in, and hopefully, we got a lot more stuff coming up as well, right? You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of great opportunities, a lot of great things coming up. So you guys are going to see a lot more of her. Follow her on her socials. Go follow her on her podcast as well. And with that being said, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this conversation. And if it's your first time and if you made it all the way through, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, if you're one of those individuals, as I said in the beginning, that's going to go there, hit the subscribe button, and then 5 minutes later, unsubscribe, don't do that. Please don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You're messing up the algorithm. We're just trying to get out there, reach more people to offer healing resources and opportunities for healing. All right. And so with that being said, guys, this is going to conclude this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Guys, have an amazing day. And I love you. And thank you for your support. Thank you again, More. See you guys in the next one.
Bye.